Clarify something you just said to Courtney, please. I think I heard you correctly. You said you leave it to General McKenzie to decide when he needs to consult.
Right. I know there is a fascination here about, no, Barb, wait, hang on just a second. There's fascination here over authorities. And the cases when a commander can do something on his or her own, or they have to float it up the chain of command. I am not going to get into a detailed discussion today about authorities for strikes that haven't happened yet, and for operations that aren't planned and aren't on the calendar yet. With the whole, hang on, please. The whole national security team is involved in monitoring the threat streams and the intelligence, and there is, in many cases, frequent dialogue across the chain of command about taking the appropriate action. And the interest in authorities is interesting. It's not necessarily relevant to the overall mission, which is to prevent our nation from being attacked again.
So my question actually is, well, that's a very good explanation. My question is, you said, if I am repeating this accurately, it is up to General McKenzie to decide when he needs to consult. I'm wondering, given everything, maybe I just misunderstood you. There are processes and procedures. A four-star wouldn't, in charge of operations in a particular part of the world, it wouldn't just be left up to him to decide whether he thinks he needs to tell the president or the White House or the secretary or the chairman. I'm not trying to ask about hypotheticals. I'm just trying to ask, is that really the case that General McKenzie gets to decide? Or did I misunderstand you?
There will be, he has authorities, Barb, and there will be times when he'll be able to act on those authorities. There will be other occasions, potentially, where there'll need to be a broader discussion about the intelligence we're seeing and about the capabilities we can bring to bear to deal with that particular threat. And General McKenzie, I'll have to go back and look at exactly what I said, but General McKenzie understands how to do this, and as do all the other combatant commanders, quite frankly. It's not just Central Command. Other geographic combatant commands are dealing with terrorist threats in Africa and even in the Indo-Pacific. They understand the authorities that they have, and they also understand that even within those authorities, there might be times when a broader discussion is warranted. And I think, again, it's not a useful exercise to go through the authorities on each and every possible strike. What matters is that the American people know, A, we have the capability, and we're going to keep the capability, and we're going to try to make it more robust, and B, we're not going to lose sight on the threat going forward. And it's difficult for me on the 3rd of September to tell you exactly what that threat's going to look like in any part of the world on any particular day, except to say that our combatant commanders know the authorities they have, they know the responsibilities they have, and they will act accordingly.
I think the reason that I'm glad that the combatant commanders know their authorities. I would be troubled if they didn't. But I think the reason that we're asking here is because now the situation has changed. There's been 20 years that we've been covering this war, and now the situation on the ground has changed. There's no military there, and it's not. And we're trying to understand, to inform our own reporting, how things go going forward. I don't think we're asking you specifically, can you give us the date and time of each strike and who it's going to be targeting and where, but just more broadly, how this process is going to work going forward. And I think that kind of process stuff, call us wonky, it wouldn't be the worst thing this press corps has been called before, but I think that only informs our own reporting to understand how it's going to work. So if it's possible that anyone can explain that going forward, even in a broad sense.
Courtney, again, I think maybe I failed. Perhaps I utterly failed here to try to explain it going forward.
Not to your face.
But I just don't think it's a useful exercise to talk about every authority process for every potential strike we're going to take. Just rest assured that our combatant commanders have the authorities they need. And if there's a need to have a broader discussion inside the national security team about a potential target, we'll do that. It is not uncommon that hasn't happened in the past, and I suspect that that'll happen in the future. But you're right, the situation is different. And that's exactly the point I guess I'm trying to make, is that because the situation is different, these will be taken almost on an individual basis.
Can I have a follow-up?
Yeah, sure.
Could you talk a little bit about the urgency of the opportunity in a strike? Is that a factor in this too sometimes?
Time and urgency is always a factor when you're getting ready to take a strike, particularly against a legitimate terrorist threat. Okay, I got to go. Yeah, go ahead.
What is the U.S. final destination of the military mission against the terrorists? U.S. will fighting forever to Taliban, ISK, or another terrorist? What? Do you have any destination for the final destination?
A destination?
Yes, final destination of the U.S.
Final destination of the U.S. when it comes to terrorist threats? I mean, I think it's been pretty clear. We want to make sure that we can avoid, prevent, stop a terrorist threat from endangering the lives of the American people, like it happened nearly 20 years ago. And that was why we went to Afghanistan, and it was still the goal. It is still the goal, not just in Afghanistan, but elsewhere around the world, to eliminate those kinds of threats to our interests and to our people, to our allies and partners from legitimate terrorist activity, which, again, as I said, has metastasized away from Afghanistan in recent years, to North Africa, into other places of the Middle East. And so we're not going to lose sight on that. We're just not going to lose sight on that. The Secretary's #1 priority, if you go back and look at his message to the force when he took over, is defend the nation. There's a lot you wrap into defend the nation, a lot. Part of it is the existent terrorist threat and the future terrorist threat, and making sure that we're not losing focus on that.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.